Having thoroughly enjoyed our trip to the Ural Sea, Max, John and I were now heading further south into Kazakhstan, knowing that in a few days we would be arriving at the Kyrgyzstan border. We spotted the Baikonur cosmodrome in the distance, the world's first spaceport for orbital and human launches. As we'd already pulled over to take a picture, we took the opportunity to have our usual lunchtime snacks and siesta. A couple of hours later, we arrived at the town of Dzusaly, where we checked into a hotel and then hit the streets to see what Dzusaly had to offer. We tucked into yet another ice cream and then located a cafe, just the place for a cuppa and a wind down after today's ride. But the owner inside had other ideas. She really took a liking to Max, and there was no escaping it. We were all soon back on our feet once again. And finally, after our impromptu performance, we made our excuses and left to find some street food. No, this goat head didn't tempt us, so we found a yurt near the hotel, serving some bread and apricot tea. In the morning, I said goodbye to another furry friend, and we began our journey to Kyzylorda. But this time, when we stopped for our afternoon kip, we had company.
Yeah.
Now you can ride here.
Hello, my name is Anton.
Anton.
Good English.
2005 is born.
Oh.
Nice.
Look what I've got, John.
What have we got?
I've got an I love you heart.
Oh,
Monkey.
so sweet.
Anton was such a joy to be around, a true inspiration and a comedian. It put us all in high spirits as we set off. But 12 miles later, our cheerful mood was soon cut short. Your oil's all alright, innit?
Yeah, oil's fine. No one mentioned BMW.
So you heard a bang?
Like a thud. And then it just went down to one cylinder, yeah. No, water's good. Water's on the correct mark. Because it wasn't like a catastrophic, oh my god, so you would know it if it was bad.
Unable to fix Budley at the side of the road, we resorted to using our tow rope. Max led and I followed close behind, signalling to drivers to overtake, until 50 miles later we arrived in the town of Shieli. We found a garage where we dropped Budley off, and John jumped on the back of Max's bike, on top of all of his luggage, creating a funny illusion from behind. We continued riding through the town, hunting for somewhere to stay, hoping that whatever was wrong with John's bike could be fixed. As the final bit of sunlight faded, we arrived at a rather glitzy hotel where a disco was underway. There was only one thing for it. We ordered in a round of shots and partied the night away. The next morning, feeling a little rough around the edges, we nervously sat waiting in the garage for news on John's bike. The mechanics had only basic tools and a stool for their workbench, but they found no issue with John's carburettor, so they began stripping his bike apart to try and locate the real problem. John made a friend with a man nicknamed Six Fingers, and he drove John and Max into town to look at the Ural motorcycle in case Budley could not be fixed. Not sold by the idea of buying the Ural, the boys headed back to the garage to see what progress had been made on Budley. And the problem had been identified. The camshaft was completely broken in two, along with a crumpled up valve screw and nut. It was all hands on deck. At first we thought it was a lost cause until this man, with some metal rods, managed to weld the two parts back together. It was time to celebrate.
Six finger man.
We had been rescued yet again by the kindness of strangers. It had begun to feel like the things going wrong on the trip were actually making our adventure so much more enjoyable. We made our way to Shymkent the next day. We had our usual stop for fuel and we continued to check out the array of agricultural trucks and machinery. There were also now water points scattered along the highway, making it easier for us to top up water bottles and stay hydrated. We continued to meet more quirky people as we parked up in lay-bys next to their motors, and this kind father and son even insisted they shared their watermelon with us. We misjudged timings and ended up riding into the night, but luckily we were still able to check into a hotel, have a feast in a bedroom, and check out what damage had been done by the sun to our bodies. In the morning, Max made me a contraption to help me stay hydrated as I ride. I didn't have a camelback, so I was only topping up on water when we stopped. Max popped a bottle under a bungee on the side of my bike and gave me some plastic tubing he had on him to use as a straw. Great idea. With mountains emerging in front of us, we made good progress as we overtook lorry after lorry after lorry, edging closer to Kyrgyzstan. Although there was always time to stop when we saw a stall selling watermelons. Max bungeed them on his bike, and we looked out for a nice place to stop, to rest up and have some lunch. The dried out, barren landscape of Kazakhstan was changing, and we were happy to now be amongst the lush green trees and foliage as we tucked into our melons.
Wow, a massive lady.
Max Smith?
Yes. Thanks.
A short ride later, we entered our last city in Kazakhstan, Taraz. We parked up, checked into our hotel, and then took a walk to try and find a place that could top up my battery water levels. It was completely dried out. We found some at a pharmacy, and on the way back, a man invited us over to his restaurant, where he served us up a pizza, gave us all tea, and then told us it was on the house. We arrived at the busy border into Kyrgyzstan the next day, excited to enter a new country and check out the Otmok Pass. But one Kyrgyzstan tradition that we should have been aware of slipped through the nets, and I was about to experience it firsthand. I started to become aware that it was just me, this guy and his horse,